Welcome to New Possibilities. I speak truth to power without fear. So, a couple of days ago, the Trump administration announced that it was rescinding Obama policy with regard to affirmative action. Under the Obama administration, they encouraged universities and colleges to promote diversity through affirmative action programs where they consider race as one of many factors in admissions. So you have this Trump administration that has decided to rescind this policy. Now, this doesn't affect whether or not affirmative action is still legal. Affirmative action is still legal in this country. There are several Supreme Court decisions that allow universities to consider race as one of many factors in deciding whether or not to admit students to universities. But the thing that's very troubling about this decision of the Trump administration, it is a signal about which direction this Trump administration is going in. As we all know, Justice Kennedy recently announced that he was going to resign from his position as a U.S. Supreme Court justice, and now the Trump administration is in the process of selecting someone to replace Justice Kennedy. Now, the Trump administration is looking for somebody that's young, somebody in their 40s and stuff, according to the news reports that I've seen, so that this person would have a lasting and long impact on the direction of the U.S. Supreme Court. Now, it is apparent that Trump wants to have somebody in place that opposes affirmative action. And as many people know, Justice Kennedy was a swing vote on this issue of affirmative action. If it wasn't for his vote, we possibly could have seen the end of affirmative action years ago. Now, with this new selection of a Supreme Court justice, we see that it is very possible that we could see the end of affirmative action in this country, as a legal doctrine. It may be struck down as unconstitutional, and this will have a devastating impact on African Americans trying to seek a higher education. It will make it more difficult for African Americans to go to elite universities, to go to some of the best universities in the country, and even to go to second-tier universities as well. It's going to make it more difficult. It's going to close many doors of opportunity to black people. But you have people who are so ignorant that they actually have put out the idea that it doesn't matter who's president. They put out this idea that these two parties are one and the same when they're not. This is a clear example of a difference between the Trump administration and Obama's administration. It's about the direction of this country, and this is going to have a direct impact on black people and our opportunities for advancement in this society. People tell you to pull yourself up by your bootstraps and do for yourself and get an education and all this and that. But now the doors of opportunity are being closed to black people, and it's going to be more difficult for people to advance in life. But we need to prepare our children for this generation without affirmative action. We need to get in the mindset that this may possibly be the end of affirmative action, and we need to prepare our young people to be as competitive as possible. And the thing is, affirmative action is something that's necessary. It's necessary for a couple of reasons. I mean, one of the main reasons why it has been upheld in the courts is because it promotes diversity. That's one of the primary reasons. And I think that affirmative action has been very diluted. Instead of being about correcting the problems of past discrimination, institutionalized racism, it has been about promoting this idea of diversity. And the problem with that is that it's very limited, and it includes all these groups of people who have not suffered the same kind of discrimination that African Americans have suffered. But, even this diluted form of affirmative action benefits African Americans to a large degree, and that very slight or moderate benefit to African Americans is going to even be eliminated at this point if Trump has his way. And that's why it's so important for the Democrats to put up a fight against Donald Trump's nominations. Insist that they wait until after the midterm elections. And really, I would say even go harder than that, man. Resist this Trump administration, just like those Republicans resisted Obama. Obama had someone in place, You know, he had every right to nominate and, you know, have a Supreme Court justice appointed. And once he selected somebody, the Republicans did everything in their power to obstruct that appointment, to prevent that appointment. They stood their ground, and it's time for the Democrats to do the same. But I don't think these Democrats had a heart, man. I don't think they have what it takes to fight. And that's a damn shame, man. So Donald Trump is going to have his way, and this is just another reminder of just how important these elections are. You know, these people that are these popular talking voices on here on YouTube told you and me that voting doesn't matter. They had a don't vote campaign. And now every single day we're reminded of how important elections are. When people see how this will make it more difficult for their children to go to college, to go to universities, they will understand how important the election of a president is. You know, not only is the issue of affirmative action in play, I mean, there are all kinds of issues, voting rights, criminal justice rights, all kinds of rights that can be impacted by this. Our basic civil liberties and civil rights are impacted by who is president. So I hope people finally wake up and get it and realize how important these elections are. If you are not registered to vote, you need to register to vote today, so that you can vote in these midterms. And you need to understand and study who's running for office in your jurisdiction. Know who's running for Congress so that you can know which one to select. Understand what their agenda is. Understand what their priorities are and vote your interests. So with that, I'm going to say peace and blessings to each and every one of you. Please rate, comment, and subscribe.